I don't know if you had a chance. I sent out I'm hoping Bill is coming tonight, but I sent out kind of a draft, worse than a draft, of a note regarding the gravel permit on Tromsey Avenue. And
I did not see that. I haven't been on my computer at work all day today.
yeah, it looks like if we're going to send something to the select board, it's got to be by, I think it's by the 13th. So it's before the next meeting. So we can, when we get to it, we can kick it around.
Sure.
Colleen, have you heard if Bill is coming?
No, he didn't contact me. I assumed he was coming, but I didn't hear from him. Oh yeah, they've got to have the comments back by the 19th.
Oh, the 19th.
19th, right. So, yeah.
So we'll see if Bill read it, that some of it looked like, in fact, when I talked to Chris Martin, they said, some of that actually looks like it belongs from the Conservation Commission. And the part where it's near the wetlands but it is interesting as I thought more about it. And that I don't know if you've been through that area of town, Colleen, but it looks like a bomb had gone off in there. I think maybe Leon Chartier had a gravel permit that was in there that if you go down Bachelor Street and get down past Griswold Circle on the right side of the road, on the south side of the road, that there, in fact, where that curve is, there are houses that are built down in the old gravel pit. And I think Greg Orland had one or has one, another gravel pit in that area. Now this is going on the other side of the brook. And this one's going to be a pretty big one. And you start looking at pulling soil out in an area that, as I said in the letter, it's along the main brook, the main brook in the town. And you look at that soil, that's the same flat area that goes all the way out to the high school. And when you start going in and just ripping out that sand, you leave the town with a big hole instead of a nice asset to do something with. So anyway, I guess we could spend a couple minutes doing stuff, Lee, that I guess Bill is usually here early, but if you want, we can go. We've got Lynn will be coming in 10 minutes, but so you want to give it a shot at going through some of this stuff?
Yeah, we can get done what we can get done prior to Lynn showing up, and then I just pulled up your note. I'll be reading that in the background. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the first thing is, I do have the recording going. So the first item should be our minutes from the 12th. Are you okay with them, Lee?
Yes, thank you.
And I am too, Colleen. So those are approved. The next one, I've got two time sheets for Colleen. Both of them, one of them is for the period ending December 16th, and the next one is December 30th. Both of those time sheets are for the normal 70 hours. Are you okay with that, Lee?
Oh, sure. Yes.
With both of those? With both of those?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so those are approved.
Okay.
The next one I've got is money turnover. It's a total of $5,300. That comes from $955 from Board of Health permits, $3,760 from Board of Health licenses, $500 from Board of Health fees, $60 and $60 for gas permits, and $25 for select board common victular license. In fact, Colleen's got it, number 7776101, totaling of $5,300. Are you okay with those, please?
Yes, yes.
I am too, Colleen, so those are approved.
Okay.
The next one is, schedule of department bills payable. There's just one. It's for Quill, and it's for payment for a purchase order that we approved prior. It's for $167.66, and it's let's see what it's for. It's for spiral book, brother drum unit, expo low odor fine, a 4-pack. What, oh, is that pencils, Colleen?
Dry erase markers.
Dry erase, okay.
Yeah, I have a little dry erase board I
yeah.
use to put the meeting items
Okay.
on.
Copper tone batteries and Flexi Home folding step stool. Looks like we've got, no, on the last two aren't billed. Actually, the stool isn't billed yet
No,
either.
yeah, that was like a
That's not here,
freebie, and
so-
some soap, some hand soap was a freebie also, so.
Okay, so that's what it is. Lee, are you okay with those?
Oh, sure. Yes, thank you.
I am too, Colleen.
Okay,
Now we start into the permits. This one is the food license to the Church of Christ, and it holds church and special events. This is for the year. There's normal permit. Are you okay with that, Lee?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved. The
okay,
next one is for the American Legion. It's also this is a food establishment of over 25 seats for the year. Are you okay with that,
Yep.
Lee? I am too,
Yes.
Colleen, so that's approved.
okay,
Next one, I've got Subway, also a food establishment under 25 seats for the year. This is also a renewal. Are you okay with that, Lee?
Yeah, I am, thank you.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay.
The next one is to operate a food service establishment. Colleen, I think this is a mistake. This is
Oh.
under 25 seats, and I think they're over 25 seats.
Who, for something special?
Yeah,
Okay, well, going off, I was going off their previous ones, they didn't correct it, but in the beginning, they had gotten it under 25. They said they were under 20. I haven't been in there. I don't know. But
we went through this a couple years ago. I think that at the time they were like 42 seats.
oh,
But Lee, how do you want to handle this? If this is what they've asked for, we can grant the permit, but then we'll have to get it corrected. Colleen could follow up. How do you
Mhm.
want to? I hate to not approve anything because they'll end up without a permit for 2024. It seems like we're better off to approve one that needs to be corrected. What are your thoughts, Lee?
Yeah, I would agree, to keep it going, and the correction process is way easier than, having a special item or not licensed to operate.
Okay, So that's, Colleen, that's what we'll do. So if you can follow this up on all of these food items, that our standard procedure is to have Lynn go in and grant them after their
Yeah.
the inspection, correct?
Yeah,
So that's
yes,
what, Colleen, that Lee and I both agree. So we'll approve this for under 25 and then follow up and see if it needs to be corrected.
see if they are over 25 seats. Okay, yes,
Okay, okay, thanks.
Yep.
The next one is, this one's got 5, it's Cumberland Farm. We'll do, they leave the approval of all 5 together. There's a tobacco permit. There is a, let's see, frozen dessert permit, milk and cream permit, sell retail food permit, and a food establishment permit. Are you okay, Lee, with all 5 of those?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Colleen, I am also, so all 5 of those are approved.
okay,
The next one, we've got 2, and this is for Cindy's Drive-In. And one is for a food establishment. The other one is manufacturing of frozen desserts and or ice cream. Are you okay with those, Lee?
Yes, just a question, for Colleen in general. Do all these places, is everybody current, Colleen, with their, water quality? 'Cause a lot of places I know are public water supplies. I just didn't know whether or not they were current with their, mandatory, reporting.
well, I do receive, water reports from the public water supply, yes. The ones
Okay.
that are, yeah, usually I'll get from, Quabbin. And they'll
They-
they'll
the
usually
public
send
ones,
like
Colleen-
2 or 3 months together. Yes,
And the state ends up following up on those public water supplies, and they notify us when they're out of compliance.
yes,
Okay, so for the most part, it's just business as usual unless something they generate a non-compliance report to us.
yes, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
The next one, I don't see Lynn yet either.
And she did not say she would be here. I did send her the link, but I didn't hear anything back from her. So she may
Okay.
not indeed be coming.
Okay,
Okay,
the next
All right.
next one is Dollar General, and there's 3 of them here. There's a license to sell milk and cream, a license to sell retail food, and a tobacco permit. Are
Okay.
you okay with those
Yep.
3, Lee?
Yes, thank you.
Colleen, I am too, so those are
Okay.
all approved.
Okay,
The next one is, this is Union Mart, but 3 permits here. License to sell milk and cream, license to sell retail food, and a tobacco permit. Are you okay with those 3?
Yes, thank you.
Colleen, I am also.
okay,
The next one is CVS, and it's got 2. License to sell retail food and license to sell milk and cream. Are you okay with those, Lee?
Sure.
Okay. The Next one is the two permits. This is Brusso Liquor Mart and I've got a tobacco permit and a license to sell retail food. Are you okay with those, Lee?
Yes, thank you.
Colleen, I am also, so they're both
Okay.
approved. Next one is two again, is Granby Liquor Store, and it's a license to sell retail food and a tobacco permit. Are you okay with those, Lee?
Yep, yes, thank
I
you.
am too, Colleen, so those are both approved.
Okay,
The next one is Douglas Bernash Construction. This is a disposal works permit. This is a renewal. Are you
Okay.
okay with it? That one? I am too, Colleen,
Sure.
so that's
Yep.
Okay.
approved. Next is IMT Landscaping and Construction, which is a renewal, also for a disposal works installer permit. Are you okay
Okay.
with that, Lee? I am
Sure.
too, Colleen, so that's okay. Next one is a hauler's permit, septic hauler's permit for Fletcher Sewer and Drain. It's also a renewal. Are you okay with that, Lee?
Yes, yes,
I
thank
am
you.
too, I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay,
The next one is also a sewage hauler's permit, and this is for Wind River, and that's a renewal.
All right,
Are you okay with that, Lee?
sure, thank you. Yep,
I am too, Colleen,
okay,
so that's approved.
okay,
Next, we have hair salon renewal for Olivia's Hair Studio on New Little Road. Are you okay with that, Lee?
yes,
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay,
The next is a water supply. This is for a building permit approval. This is at lot 5 on Bachelor Street. That is for Peter Homonymous. And the water was, actually the water is good. The bacteria is fine and all the chemicals are all within spec. Lee,
Okay.
are we going to approve that and let Colleen sign off on the building permit?
yeah, I've been on site, yes, thank you.
Okay. Colleen, I'm okay with that too. So that's
Okay.
approved. You can sign it.
okay, great, thanks.
The next one is Lot 1 Amher Street. This is a certificate of compliance, complete septic system, number 284. Like it's a Neil Jackson design and he signed off on it. I'm guessing is that the Cape, Lee, that's right on the other side of Aldrich Lake?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Are we okay with that one?
Well, just a quick question. I called the building inspector, regarding this topic, because the contractor has been discharged from employment there, and there is no current GC, on site. And according to my understanding, when there's no GC on a job like this, the job can't proceed. Whether or not that's independent of the well and septic, I do not know. But that's,
Well, this one's our permit, Lee.
what's that, please?
This one's our permit, a Board of Health permit. So
Right.
as
I mean, as
compared with
far
a
as the
building
well and
permit.
septic, as far as well and septic goes, everything's in as far as I can determine incorrectly. I just didn't know if we could, you know, continue along with this since there's an issue. But again, you're right, it's not our issue. But there is an issue with the continuity of the project continuing from a legal perspective.
Yeah. So from our standpoint, the permit has been paid for. It was issued not to the builder. It was issued to the installer, or the owner, and then the installer. And the engineer has signed off on it. So, and the well is the same kind of thing. Those are our permits. So.
Okay.
So
no, I was just didn't hear back from the building inspector. So I was just trying to clarify that point.
Yeah. So that, but from his standpoint, that whether people can live in it, that's a whole different story. But at least from our standpoint, they've complied with all our regulations, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so then we're okay with that, Colleen. You can sign off on that one.
Okay.
But obviously the building, the CO won't be granted.
Okay.
So now we went through all of those. I'm concerned that we haven't heard from Bill.
Yeah, I texted him, and I haven't heard anything back, so I don't know.
So the first one we've got on the list as we go through, we've got, well, actually all of these things we maybe should all be talking about as a board, but let's see if we list this. We've got the earth removal permit. We've got the antique shop at I think that's at Jack Peterson's house. I don't know that, but I think so. Then we've got,
I would have, yeah.
And then we've got a restroom at Cindy's Drive-In, shared services inspection, the February 13 meeting with Colleen on vacation, permanent water supply for charter days, Dollar General 4 base, whether we want shallow wells replaced at Title V inspection, and any emails or phone calls and other business. Some of, and Colleen, you said that we've got to the 19th
Yes.
to get.
Yep. On that one with the earth removal, got to the 19th. The other one, got to the 17th, and it looks like our meeting is the 16th, if it's 2 weeks from today, so could talk about both of those next time, if you have to.
One of the things, Lee, that we could talk about that, and unfortunately without Lynn here, there's an issue about our shared services, but if we just talk about, second, with the earth removal, the issues, I looked at certainly the health and safety issues of having these trucks. When I went through and I looked at, I kind of blindly took the 40,000 cubic yards that they were going to take out every year. And they said they were going to be open 5 days a week. And then I looked up the size of gravel trucks, and the literature said they're 10 to 20 yards, and I recalled that there are a whole bunch of 12-yard ones. So I I just blindly divided up the number of yards by 12 yards and divided it by 250 days. And then I said, well, I can't just do that. I have to double it for number of trucks because there's an empty truck and a full truck associated with every load.
Right.
So then I did that, and I said, well, let's say that I know that every day is not going to be the same as every other day, and every minute of every day isn't going to be the same as every minute of every other day. And we used to use a number that said if you're looking at peak numbers versus average numbers of rates, if you took the average number on a thing like this and multiplied it by 3, you'd probably have a peak number. It's probably at least 2. And I said, but I'll just wing it and say 3 and just see what that comes out. And it comes out that there would be a truck going into Tropkey Avenue at those peak rates at every 6.5 minutes. So pretty much a lot of vehicles going down that road at peak times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I go ahead, Lee.
No, I was reading your letter at the same time, and it may or may not be pertinent, but no matter where you go from Tromke Avenue, you have a culvert at the end of Tromke Avenue to have to cross, of course, and I don't know what the load rating is for that. And when you take a right, there's another culvert in that low spot.
Yep.
In the over by Joe Mayhew's
Right.
ex-residence, and on the
Yep.
other end, you've got the new culvert that was just repaired on Bachelor Street, and I don't know that load rating, and I don't know the load rating on that little bridge on North Street.
That's right. So it was
So
both.
you're right. Among other things, I'm reading your letter, and it all makes perfect sense that there's a lot on the plate here, which it doesn't make it so simple as it seems at first glance.
No, and as I said in the letter, if you look at that street, I just went to a Google map and just did distances along Bachelor Street to look at the width of the pavement. And it varied from about 20 feet wide to about 25 feet wide. So it's not very wide, and there aren't any sidewalks. And it started thinking about the kids that are taking the school buses, the people. I've been on that road, and there are lots of times when I see kids on bikes or people walking along the road, and they're walking either in the pavement or on that little dirt apron on the side. And start looking at this. This is not an insignificant safety problem that's coming here. So I did talk to Chris Martin about it. He was concerned that in my letter, he said that I mentioned the possible conflict of interest within the planning board, and he probably was correct that in this letter, it probably isn't germane. It's just my point of it was that if you look at the safety issues, the quality of life reduction issues with dust and noise and traffic, that more than likely the value of those homes is going to go down because of this, and that the selectmen and the town could get sued for that. There could be a class action suit that said this is in effect a taking, that what someone's decided to do is allow the owners of that gravel bank to make a lot of money at the expense of the people that lost the money on their value of their house. And I said, that's a potential issue. So you've got the safety issues, then the issues of this thing is right next to a brook with sand that doesn't filter for beans. That if you have all these trucks and machinery running and they spill diesel on the ground or brake fluid, stuff goes right into the brook. And then there are longer term issues of what's the impact of taking all these the feet of soil that was doing some filtration and just take it out of there. What's the impact on that brook and the wetlands and I forget what the other is that, as you point out, Lee, when you talk about the streets, how is it fair as these big trucks start driving down this street and destroys the street, destroys the bridges, and all requires the townspeople to pay for all those repairs and replacement, all at while somebody is making tons of money selling the gravel. That how is that fair for the town to have to do that? And in fact, one of my questions is the simple writing of a permit or approving a permit and the expenses that the town has to pay in the future, is that really fair, or should that be town meeting that says, yeah, we're going to approve, funding for the support of these people to make this money?
Well,
And
right, long-term, the long-term financials are a potential for that surface area to be requiring new pavement upon completion. And depending on which traffic pattern they take, repair or replacement of some of the existing structures that are there now that are crossing water, not to mention the fact that the increased traffic, the negative impacts of that, the dust, the noise,
Yeah.
house values. There's a lot on the plate here.
yeah, one of the things that I'd love to be talking to the planning board, but when the chairman of or I don't know if he's still chairman, but what Chris told me is Jim Klopke is no longer an owner of this property, but still, is I know conflict of interest losses if your family's involved with stuff, but still, should the planning board even right now even be thinking about taking that nice land that's connected all the way over to 202, that here's a piece of land that could be used for farming. It could be actually, if you look at what could happen in 50 or 100 years, it's land that it's unbelievable land, so well trained, well drained, that it's capable of supporting big loads. It's it's like the ideal land. And now you're going to dig it out and stick it under a roadbed or in a leach field someplace. Is that the way you want to protect an asset of the town? You just dig it out and essentially rape it. So I don't know. It's just
it appears on the surface to be purely financially driven, and whether or not the member of the planning board is disclosing that there's no interest seems hard-pressed to accept.
well, but
Not
that
my
becomes
battle,
another issue. The courts would end up dealing with that, but one of the issues that I talked to Chris about, and I said that and I brought it up in the letter, is that once the select board says that they've permitted it, so they're not breaking any rule on the permitting, and these trucks end up being registered and licensed to drive on the road. Now, when people come into the Board of Health and say, "Holy mackerel, look at this for this is a health nuisance here. This is dangerous to our kids, and we need help, Board of Health," I think it becomes very difficult for the Board of Health to end up giving these a cease and desist kind of issues, an order. And so this is the time to deal with it. But from our standpoint, and it'd be nice to think about, Lee, and maybe Colleen can ask Bill to listen to the tape of this, is should the Board of Health, in fact, right now, saying that the safety issues, it includes the school buses picking up and dropping off kids. There are no sidewalks. All of this is happening on the street. Does the Board of Health right now say this is a serious enough health and safety issue that you can't allow this operation? So it's not the Board of Selectmen that can make that decision to allow this, that the Board of Health says unless the safety issues are dealt with and resolved, you can't allow this to happen, not on those roads. That maybe it requires that the town put sidewalks in, for instance, to protect the people that are passing. The financial issues aren't the Board of Health issues, but certainly the safety of the people living along those streets is a Board of Health issue.
Well, and I don't know where I've been, but as I travel here and there, the new signage now, I'm guessing you guys have seen it too, is requesting that any vehicle going by a pedestrian bicycle gives them a 4-foot right of way.
That's right.
Mhm.
When you pass somebody. So when you look at this scenario on that street, in those corners, and even the straightaways, which is a narrow street, there simply isn't. You don't have a 4-foot leeway when there's two vehicles at the same time going back and forth as you try to overcome a pedestrian and or bicycle. And that's only on one side of the street, of course.
Sure. So if you look at it, if someone's standing on the edge of the street and you go 4 feet, and then you put an 8-foot vehicle on it, that's 12 feet. And if the road is only 22 feet wide, you're across the center line.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
So, and then what happens when the other vehicle's another truck? So,
Right.
So anyway,
It's going to be in
if
somebody's yard.
so it's an issue that this gravel issue is one thing. I think it's worthwhile for us to be, if we talk about it more, as citizens, to be going to the planning board and say, you know what? Why in the world, other than to let someone make millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars, if you're, I don't know what the going rate of fill is. I think it's in excess of $25 a yard these days. But if you look at that, you multiply it by 40,000 yards a year, so it's $1 million a year that's coming out of there.
Yep.
For the sake of letting somebody take that out of there and leaving a big hole, is that really the way we want to develop our town? And, because if you do that,
Yeah.
then why not take all the sand out of there all the way out to 202? And that's an asset of the town. And the planning board, once again, if there is a family involved on the planning board that's got the potential of making, well, if it's $1 million a year for 7 years, so $7 million, uh, is the planning board going to have the leadership to say, no, we don't want to do that to this town? And I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's a separate issue from this one. That's a separate issue.
Certainly, there's enough conflict with this to raise some serious concerns.
Yeah, I would hope that a planning board would be taking the leadership to say, hey, our job is to control the development of the town and do it for the betterment of the town. And when you take a really prime piece of property and say, we're going to take it from a nice level, high area in the vicinity of the biggest brook in the town, and we're going to destroy it, that a reasonable group of people would say, that's not the way we would like to develop this town. We would like to do something with that property, or any other property that's like it. And at this point, I don't see anybody on that board taking the lead to crusade about saving our town.
Well,
So,
at first, at first glance, there's a lot of baggage here, but maybe the board itself would consider hiring an outside review and recommend maybe what should or shouldn't be considered.
Yeah.
Given the membership of the board, the location of the property, with all of the potential conflicts and detriment to the people of the town in general, and specifically to the people residing on Tromke Avenue and that section. Well, it can be all three areas of Bachelor Street, heading out in all three areas, up North Street, towards Amherst Road, and towards the McDuffie complex.
yeah. I look at it and say, okay, if this thing goes, if you're going to be really upfront with this, in fact, like my guess is right now, but I don't know that, but my guess is that you're going to see that no one has been paid very much taxes on this. It's probably listed as open land, and all of a sudden, if this were to be approved, do our assessors go in and say, hey, we're taking $1 million a year out of this, so that land must be worth $7 million right now, because you're going to sell it for $7 million. How do you say, okay, every year for the next 7 years it goes down, but this next year you're going to pay taxes on $7 million of value. And the next year you'll do it on $6 million of value. And then after you're done emptying it, then it's worth only the value that whatever the residual value is. But once again,
and
what?
that money could be used for reconstruction of the roads, the bridges, the culverts,
whatever,
sidewalks. You're right. Whatever it takes to put back what is going to get worn out really quickly, maybe 3-4 times ahead of schedule.
Yeah. So if we
So
can,
same thing.
Lee, I'm not prepared to have the two of us come to a decision here on what to do with
Oh, no.
this letter.
No,
But
this is for sure a full board discussion.
Colleen, do you think because of the open meeting law, neither Lee nor I can talk to Bill about this outside the meeting? We have there's a couple things ways we can go about it. Maybe you could ask Bill to listen to or watch the video of this.
Tonight's meeting, sure.
Yeah, and ask him if he could do that. And then we can go two directions. We can just wait until the next meeting to talk about this. Or if we feel that it's important enough, we can have a special meeting just to discuss this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you could ask Colleen while you're doing it, maybe you could ask Bill if he's got some druthers what we should be doing, because we're going to be up against it at the next meeting.
Yep. Okay.
So
yeah, we could always cut in a half an hour whenever, post it, and just keep it to this one topic only.
yeah, that may be the best way to do it. In fact, Colleen, now that Lee is saying that, why don't we do that? Why don't if you could ask Bill when he could meet?
Okay.
And let's schedule it, and we'll have that the only agenda item. And if you can just let us know when it can happen.
Okay. I'll talk to him.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
I guess we could do the same thing, Lee, if I don't know whether you're in potential conflict with the operation that's proposed at Fort Porter because of the location of the store to it. I don't know that.
I think I'm far enough away distance-wise. I think. Yeah. It's a totally different, operation and antique business, which I think it's been running for the last couple of years anyway, but
that's what I think too.
Yeah.
And in reality, if you look at their parking and their whatever traffic, it's actually on the common. It's not in a way that it really even can remotely affect you.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my feeling right now is that since it's essentially what's been going on, it doesn't affect the Board of Health, but what is your feeling, Lee? Do you feel the same thing?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I think they're just trying to run a little shop in the back of the property.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's not our battle, but is there a zoning here, or is that somebody else's?
It'd be someone else, or the building inspector would have to be doing that. But I guess from our standpoint, it would be is it going to be something that the septic system is going to get in trouble, or? But when I look at
it should be a fairly dry operation, I would think.
Yeah, I would say so too. That when you look at people that are going into the antique stores, it's not like you're going to eat and have to wash your hands and go to the bathroom. it just doesn't
Right.
seem like a big issue.
No, I don't think so.
So we, at this point, the way the selectmen have this thing written, if we don't have to give a comment that says we don't have a comment. If we just don't comment, then
Okay.
it's nothing. We can, Colleen, maybe what you could do when you talk to Bill is to tell Bill that we said we didn't have any comments, and if he's got an issue with that, then when we meet on the other, on the gravel thing, we could also talk about this one.
Okay,
Does that make sense, Lee?
Yeah, that's a good idea. If Bill has something, either through the Board of Health or possibly through conservation, then you could raise that issue. Well, conservation, of course, wouldn't affect us, but something that we're not thinking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Cindy's is probably, I'm guessing it's something that we could wait another 2 weeks and it wouldn't be a big issue. I don't know, did you look at what Cindy's was proposing, Blake? It looked like it was a permanent kind of toilet that was similar to the one that what is it, Deer Brook Farm or that
Deer Brook.
rental toilet thing, only without any wheels.
Okay. I
My
guess the
concern-
only issue is the strict maintenance agreement for that.
Yeah, when I looked at it, the way it was written is he was gonna have that same kind of toilet set up, but he was gonna have automatic feed to supply the water, and the way the portable ones work, you can't really get in much, well, you can get in trouble, but it's harder because it's got its own water supply, so that every time you fill up the water, if someone uses too much, there's just none in the supply tank. But once you connect a pipe to it, you can fill up that little 500-gallon tank awful fast.
Oh, sure.
You know, and there were a couple issues that I had. One is I looked at the toilets that were in that portable one, and they definitely were not heavy use kind of toilets. They had a plastic valve actuator, a foot actuated valve to flush it. It's just something that begged to break. And it my general thought, if you want it to be functioning like a toilet, what we ought to be saying is you need to put regular toilets in and let them, instead of putting a 500-gallon holding tank or something, let them put a field tank with alarms. Get the thing, the way who has got a seal tank? I think the old Dobex has got a seal tank, and you just put a sealed tank, a 2,000-gallon tank in the ground, and pump it out. It actually is cheaper because instead of pumping 500 at a time, you're pumping 2,000 at a time, and it doesn't occur as often, and the maintenance issue is not nearly as big a problem. And for all I know, when you finish doing the whole project, once you get rid of whatever the controls are, and the supply tank and the little tank to be pumped, and that overall it's probably cheaper to just build one of those little things.
Yeah, that probably makes a lot of sense for several reasons.
Yeah. So once again, Colleen, on this one, with a business in town, it seems like the three of us ought to be involved with that discussion.
Full board, okay, yep.
Is that your thought, Lee, also?
Yes, that would make sense, that the full board would review something of this nature.
Yeah. Then, so the next one, I guess, I don't know what our time frame is on the shared services, but that one surprised me. I didn't know that Northampton had pulled the trigger and was going to end up having an inspector, a health inspector that was able to do restaurants and housing available to us. Did you know that, Lee and Colleen?
I heard nothing of that.
I knew they were wanting to get that going, but I didn't know how quickly they would be getting it going. And they hired 2 inspectors, and they really want to start doing inspections. So during the meeting there, they were asking everyone, well, who needs the inspections? And they went kind of around and asked, and, so I said, oh, I'll take the information back to the board because, I knew, obviously we have Lynn now, but we had filled out that the assessment for needing inspections, and we had put that we would need inspections. So I just wasn't sure what I should say on that, but.
Once
Do we have
again,
any
this
idea
is what, Lee?
I'm just wondering, did they include a fee scheduled?
It would be it'd be no fee to us, to the town, because we're in the shared services, collaboration, and these are people that are being paid with the grant that they have for this.
And
There's
do we
no-
know, is that grant for a year or 2 or 3 or? No, I'm just wondering if the grant's good for, I don't know, 24 months or something.
Yeah,
Quick.
Yeah,
And then they come
I
back,
think they did
okay.
cover that at one point, not this past meeting, but I'd have to look in my notes and see if when they were talking about the grant, how long that was for, but that's a good question.
I mean, I'm just, it's just preparing for tomorrow.
Yes.
Seems like a great idea, but when that grant goes away and we don't have any other option, we may end up having to change our entire structure to cover what we've gotten used to as far as having an outside inspector come in. I can't imagine what the potential fee could be, but it usually, historically, it's been somewhat aggressive compared to what we're used to.
Yeah. When I talked to Lynn, we were pretty open. Lynn and I were pretty open, and I told her, I said, when I look at what we've got in a state or the valley, but at least we know that the state of Massachusetts is pushing to have more professionals and require higher levels of proficiency and inspectors. So the demand for people like Lynn is I expect, is going to go up way faster than the supply for people like Lynn. And I was open with Lynn saying, if we were to look out years from now to think that you're going to be looking at a job opportunity for $125,000, $150,000 a year, maybe not in this immediate area, and be thinking that you're going to be spending time in Granby for $10,000 a year and disrupt the free time that you have, and that's going to continue for years and years. I think it's unlikely, and I still think it's unlikely. And heck, we can't even keep people on our radio, our TV station in town. That they
Right.
just jump. And if you look at the same issue with that Chris is having trouble with building inspectors, and it's just, this is going to happen. And it would seem to me that the first thing we ought to do is to at least let these people in Northampton do some kind of inspection for us. Just see what happens. See if they're really available. Just see if you can schedule and find out what kind of inspection, what kind of report, how do they to deal with people, just to try. So, but again, this is definitely a strategic move of the board, a strategic decision of the board. I feel very uncomfortable doing that without Bill. And also without Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, valid point. That's a 4-member discussion.
Yeah. And just because this is a perfect time where Lynn felt that her complaint was that she wasn't really a full member of this team, for us to do something like this without her involvement. And since she's certainly the major stakeholder, that would be crazy to be doing that, and to even be doing serious talking without getting her full involvement. So
yeah, I agree.
So once again, we'll move that. Maybe it's something that Colleen, maybe we'd have 2 subjects if we can get Lynn involved at our meeting with talking about the gravel permit. Maybe we can see if we can have Lynn there for a couple of minutes and talk about that at a special meeting.
All right.
Yep.
I'll include her in that. I'll see her availability.
The next one we should do something. So Colleen, even though it's more than a month away, it's only 2 meetings away, is Colleen not being available on the February 13th meeting. Now, Colleen, are you going to be gone for that whole week?
Yes, Monday through Friday, yes. Mhm.
Okay, so you're not here. Let me look at, and we're scheduled to meet then, Colleen?
Yes, the 13th. Uh-huh.
Just trying to flip through. So we've got
3 meetings this month, and then, yeah, that one.
so our options leave we can just go for a whole month without a meeting, which maybe, okay, maybe there are more options than this, but I look at go with for a month and not have a meeting at all on that week. The other would be to have it on 2 meetings in a row before it, or 2 meetings in a row after it. Are there other
so as
options,
we could-
Lee?
Well, I mean, probably not. We could base that decision upon, the potential volume if you want.
We could do that. We could. What we could do. What if we say that on our meeting on the 30th, why don't we decide whether we end up needing the meeting on the 20th? Or, yeah,
Sure. Yeah, why not?
that way Colleen can, so we have made a decision, Colleen.
Okay,
We made a decision that we're not gonna have the meeting on the 13th.
okay,
And it looks like what we're saying is we're not gonna have the meeting on the 6th. So on the 30th, we'll decide if we need a meeting. There are two meetings. One of them on the week after that 13th. So on
okay.
like the
20th,
like on the 20th.
okay.
Yeah, the 20th and 27th. So
Or,
on the agenda for the meeting of the 30th, let's
mhm,
make sure we make a decision on when our next meeting is
next
gonna be.
meeting. Okay,
Does
That's
that
fine.
sound okay, Lee?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay,
That way it'll be that much closer. We'll have a handle on what's going on.
yeah,
Mm.
Usually February is not the most hectic
no,
time of the year for wells and septic, so it may be a good idea to judge it and take a extra break.
so that's what we're gonna do with that one, Colleen.
okay.
So
Sounds
the
good.
important thing is you're not gonna have to catch up. I'm very reluctant to have you sit and watch one of these sessions and then figure out what you're gonna write about.
Yes, sure. Mhm.
So, and on top of it, we are awful when we don't have you to talk about during the meeting. Talk with, not talk about.
Gotcha.
So then the other stuff is all, I think they're all the same thing, Lee. I've got the charter day permanent water, the Dollar General forebay, the decision on requiring replacement of shallow wells. I think all of those things are things that the three of us need to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's all a full board discussion,
Okay,
on all of those topics, absolutely.
okay. So Colleen, if you want, so that if someone gets us and if we want to do a little more discussing, why don't you put all those items on the agenda for the special meeting? But we're really only going to have, we'll plan on only talking about the gravel one. But
Okay,
and then if you can get Lynn,
hmm,
so the two things that would be nice to cover would be the gravel and what we're doing with shared service.
okay,
Now, we may be in a problem that Lynn can't come, but hopefully we can. And if we keep it to those,
yeah,
then I don't think we'll be longer than a half an hour.
yeah. So I'm sure if it was after working hours, that would be,
Yeah,
something where hopefully she'd be able to make it.
Yeah, we
So,
could probably, if we have our druthers cut her in first,
yeah,
yeah,
should be,
yeah,
5 to 7 minutes, and then,
yeah.
move on to the, Conkey Avenue gravel. Sure.
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
So
I'll
that,
talk to Bill and
yeah,
see.
see what Bill can do.
Yeah.
Um, certainly if he can watch this, it would be great.
Yeah,
So he heard the discussion and we don't have to do it all over again. And then if
yeah,
he could make sure that he read at least my letter.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
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 Do you have anything else, Colleen?
Um, did you see the emails on, somebody was complaining about a mattress on someone's front lawn for over a year now on,
Yeah,
School
someone,
Street?
are you going to be
What street was
driving
this?
in that area, Lee, to just inspect it? Just
Which,
to,
what street is this?
School Street, I don't know if it's,
was it School Street or was it on Forge Pond Road?
uh, let's see. The
It was
neighbor
someplace.
lives across the street on the Forge Pond side of the road, so I think they're
Oh,
talking about school.
okay.
So maybe 23 School, I'm not sure if that's the address, but it's got a mattress on the front lawn.
Obviously,
Okay.
it's trash.
Yeah, after a year, it's of small value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we're not gonna get into it this evening, but I know we raised this question or this discussion maybe 6, 9 months ago. There are a couple locations in town which border on miniature landfills. How we're going to address those one by one, I'm not really sure yet. But I know there's some on School Street. There's some on New Ludlow Road. There's some on Bachelor Street. I mean, they're all over the place.
Well, Lee, if you're out on a trash detail,
Yeah.
why don't you do the inspections, take a couple pictures, send them, distribute them so we can see them, and let's send some letters out.
And in what just crossed my mind was that if this Northampton crew wants to take on a challenge and we can measure results, this could be it.
Yeah, that's true.
If they can make this thing go away, then they can
Yeah.
do anything. A lot of people in town like to say things.
One other issue that was coming up, and I talked to what I think is the builder, and I talked to Neil Jackson. Colleen got involved. I think it's is it 244 East Street, Colleen? Something, the place that
yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Lee, apparently, when I talked to Neil about it, apparently you and Neil did a perk test, a repair perk test on the property, and it was an abandoned property. And in fact, at one point it was owned by my son's father-in-law, but it got sold, and so I'm not involved with it at all. And but from what I gathered, and Colleen got some information, is the the house got torn down, and Neil told me that you and he did a perk test. My concern is they were pouring a foundation. I said, guys, there's gonna be a lot of hurt if if we had a high water table here and you're pouring a foundation in the wrong place, too deep, there's gonna be lots of pain involved. And
Oh,
it
I know
turns
you
out
are.
they're
You're
doing,
over on East Street.
East.
yeah, it's across from
Yeah.
the woman that does the care for the cats.
Right, that's the house that was abandoned for all those years.
Right.
Brick house with a hole in the roof for the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, I know you are.
Right. Yeah. So the house is gone. And I went and
Yep.
talked to the guys and I said, you guys better at least look in the ground to see where the water table is and see if your foundation's down below it. You're gonna all be really sad. I said, if you look at what can happen, I said, look across the street at the house that's out in the field with a nice big garrison with a big mound in front of it because they put it in
Yep.
the ground too low. I said that
Yep.
it's a mess and it ruins the value of your house. So ultimately I talked to Neil. Neil said the two of you guys went out and did the perk test as a repair when the house was still there.
That's
And I
correct.
said, I said, the Board of Health hasn't determined whether you did a repair perk. I said, but it's an abandoned house that's gone. And to be saying that it's still a repair when there's no house and a brand new house going, I said, the board hasn't acted on that. And somebody ought to be thinking about it. And it turns out they don't have a building permit. They don't have a design for a septic system. And they're moving along. So Neil said that the water table is way down on the ground. But again, it's probably something that we don't need to make a decision right now. But I don't know whether we're using the repair or the new housing rules.
Well, since the house was because we did something like this years ago on Kendall Street, at the some relative of Sapowski lived there, and their granddaughter, I think, is living there now. They used to own Cindy's ice cream place. I forget the name right now, but anyway, the rule at the time was that they had to leave a wall up of the existing house. Maybe it was just a definition issue at the building inspector had at the time, but one wall had to stay up all the time. If that wall came down, then it was no longer a repair, it was new construction.
Yeah.
So if the house is gone, by definition, and I probably am wrong, it's new construction. Therefore, what we did on that day and time doesn't count anymore, in my way of thinking.
Right. That's right, because things change.
It's gone. It's whatever we did yesterday does not count. So that means between March and April, that needs a brand new perk.
So
There's no other way to look at it.
I told the guy, I said, it just hasn't been discussed. We did once again, that probably the three of us ought to talk about what we're going to do about it. But it's certainly, there are other times when a house has been occupied, that you say, oh yeah, we'll let you put in your repair, and then they say, oh, we're going to tear the house down. You say, okay, then the repair has to be designed for the new house and done the right way, but again, it was a house that was being occupied. But that's not no one's talked to anybody about it. They just went and did this. You take a house, as you said, Lee, who knows? Let's say it hasn't been occupied for 15 or 20 years. And with no, as you said, there's no roof. So it's not a house. And then it gets
No.
torn down and said, well, it's gone. It's a brand new lot. And a new, so who knows what the issue is? And
Yeah, I think the builder is taking advantage of the situation to simply get their way and, sidestep the regulations that are in place to protect everybody. I mean,
yeah,
look at all the work that's being done on Forge Pond with that house on the island from a fire.
yeah,
A ton of work going into that septic and well. A lot of concerns, and a lot of concerns on this place too. Just because when we were there, we did do a perk test. The groundwater was fairly deep, but the house was standing, and
yeah.
it was under the nothing was in writing, but I was under the impression that it was going to be a
Rebuilt.
rebuilt, not
Yeah.
not taken down,
Yeah.
clean slate, because at that point in time, the well separation, the septic, the neighbors, the whole bit.
Yeah. Luckily,
has to
this
meet-
one's got public water, so that's
Okay. Well,
that's
right,
going
too.
forth.
The
That's
South Hadley line goes down there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
But
we're lucky.
certainly, the current regulations not be a second thought, because they're
Yeah. Well,
they're
Neil,
developing this
when I
property.
talked to Neil, I said, "Do you even know how many bedrooms are going to this house?" And he said, "Well, I think only 2." And I said, "Well," he said, "but they could do the upstairs could be refinished." And he said, I'm designing it for 3." But again, if this is back as
Yeah,
I
we can't do
told the
that.
guy working on it. I said, the discussions that need to take place just haven't taken place. And you guys are just moving along. And in fact, Colleen told me that Chris Bloom is the guy that's the builder who's in charge of this thing. And I actually
Yep.
gave Chris Bloom a call, left a message, told him what I was concerned with, and asked for him to call back, and he wouldn't call back.
That's never happened before.
Yeah. So I just wanted you to be aware, Lee, that this, as you're going along on your crash inspections, you may in fact see that there's a foundation in place, and
maybe as we go forward, when the next meeting of the full board takes place, then after some discussion, perhaps there'll be a notice sent out via Colleen about what is going to have to occur at that location to meet the regulations of the town of Granby.
yeah.
I mean, there's no other way. I don't know of another way to proceed, since we have Neil, I believe, was under the impression, maybe didn't share it with me, but that it was, a 2-bedroom little cape design was going to be for, and now the house is gone.
Yeah.
They can
Neil
make
told
it
me
a
he wasn't aware
four-bedroom.
that the house was going to be torn down either. Now, but the issue is, when you go through and you look at the design and say, if it's new construction, you're supposed to do 2 perks, you're supposed to do more holes, you're supposed to have room for the reserve system, and Neil told me
Absolutely.
putting all that in the front of the house, and it's just different. There's the way you did, not the way what you did was the appropriate thing, Lee. It's what they did that wasn't the appropriate thing.
Well, and that, yeah, that being said, we just have to make help the developer with a course correction. We can mend his, mistake and build a piece of, real estate in town which meets well all the specifications.
Yeah,
That-
what I told them, I
that-
said, I said, the good thing is I said, I'm just here. I'm not telling you to stop working. I said, that's not my job. I'm just here trying to save everybody a lot of grief. I said, the good news is you've got a lot, it's an undersized lot, but I said, you've got public water, so you don't have a well problem. And you got a backyard that's filled with sand. I don't know where the water table is, but it's filled with sand. So, one way or the other, you're going to fit a system in here that works. But you guys won't be very happy if you end up needing a septic system that's going in the back and you need 4 feet of fill. I said it's going to make it so your lot is going to look like here's this brand new house with a mound of fill in the back that you should have thought about before you did it.
I'm pretty
And-
sure that the property was bought by, an adjacent neighbor
That's what I think too.
building it. I'm not sure if it's for his relative, mother-in-law, or rental
Yeah.
income, whatever, not our battle. But certainly, Chris Bloom, like everybody else, has to, follow the standard procedure, and right now we're not.
Yeah. So there's nothing that we have to do right now to correct anything. I just wanted you to be aware that this thing is moving along. These guys are going great guns without a building permit, and
Yeah, whether or not they need a pump system now because it's in the ground the wrong depth, who the heck knows?
yeah, and I just as I stopped in, I actually physically went to the lot and said, I'm just here while you guys can still make changes. I said, you got an engineer that's working with you and you got a backhoe on site. If you at least dig down and see where that oxide is and make sure that this is 2-minute soil for sure. And just know that the new top of the ground is going to be, more than 7 feet and probably less than 8 feet above that oxide. But just find out if that's up across your windows, you may think about raising this foundation. So,
Right.
and I don't.
The only other benefit is that in 8 weeks, theoretically, you and Neil can be on site doing a scheduled new construction work.
That's right. But anyway, I just told them. I said, you just know that the Board of Health hasn't signed off on the septic system design, and what Neil told me is the design wasn't even done. I said, and so the septic system design needs to be done before the building permit is issued, and I'm just trying to save you a lot of hurt later on, because it's way easier to fix it right now before concrete is on the ground.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So anyway,
It was made
so
up.
that's what's going on.
Okay, I got you.
The other complaint that we got in over the weekend was about BP. Somebody that drives by the old BP station on West State Street there, that there is a lot of debris and trash. Gas pumps are hanging on the ground, gates not secured in the area, and that there's a lot of stuff near the clothing bins. And this woman thinks there shouldn't be no bins there, but you know, because people just dump everything in front of the bin. So she was complaining basically about the trash that's there.
I give my 2 cents for this, Lee. I don't know what your thoughts
Yep.
are, but my 2 cents are that Colleen gives the building inspector a call and say, you know, this building secured the way it needs to be secured? You know, that's
Yep.
probably a building department problem, not the Board of Health, and that when Colleen drives by, see whose name is on those bins and just give them a call and tell them to get the bins out of there, because I think the woman's right. You don't put bins on an empty, abandoned building and expect people to treat the bins properly. What do you think, Lee?
No, absolutely right. I mean, you have a hard time at the early mug not having people leaving stuff out there, and there's eyes on that all the time. And you take an abandoned location, and there's no rules.
Yeah, so
Everything just
if
gets
you can do,
thrown.
yeah, both of those things, Colleen, if you can ask the building inspector to check to see if it's secured legally.
Yep.
And if you can look tomorrow when you're driving in, just see who owns those things and give them a call and say they need to get taken out of there.
Okay, yeah, I think it's Planet 8 or something, but I'll check that out on my way by. So I do see the stuff out there too. I do see them coming to empty them. I have seen that. But there's also usually a lot of stuff in front of the bins, so.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
will do.
Okay, then that's it for us.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Okay.
night.
All right, folks.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.